Now, okay, spotlight. Okay, so anyway, we're here for the Friday online. And I kind of wanted to acknowledge passing of somebody, especially in my distant youth, was actually sometimes you don't realize how important somebody is until they go. And that's Willie Mays, who passed a couple of days ago. Yesterday, they played a game that was supposedly his honor. He died a couple of days before. One of the Negro League parks. And the Giants lost, but it was in honor of Willie and also the African American players. It was its own culture. Well, a lot of the really great players never got acknowledged because at that time there was a real racial division. Until Jackie Robinson actually broke the color barrier. We have somebody else here. Let's just see. Oh, Yarrow. Okay, good. Yeah, this isn't all the show's about. We're talking about the passing of Willie Mays. And I actually was, privileged enough to see him and, play. I mean, I never met him in person. But his passing is surprising because, as he kind of fades more in the background, sort of. I mean, it's not somebody, you think about every day. And I know, I'm a Giants fan from when I was a kid. I actually went to the first game, 1959, in Seal Stadium. A couple of memorable things. Just walking around there. There was Joe DiMaggio in a suit eating a hot dog, or getting a hot dog at the vendor stand. One of my uncles who went, that's Joe DiMaggio. I'm like, yeah, that's Joe DiMaggio. And, I think the Giants won that game. I can't quite remember. I know that Willie McCovey came up at the end of '59 and tore baseball up for a while. But Willie Mays obviously was there. A couple of just memories, just memories of him. And I guess what it is that sometimes you get somebody who has a certain energy. And then you get somebody with the energy and the persona and the skill to back up that energy. Like, for example, we do Aikido. We reference what Shiba Sensei. But maybe he's exuded a type of joy. And it's hard to describe that. I remember, if you were to say, because I watched him, I don't know how many games I saw, but all aspects of the game, he literally just excelled in, not just excelled, but he had a kind of a stylistic flair that was really amazing. That, after, well, okay, what am I, 76, and we're talking about the late 60s to early 70s, basically, maybe about 5 years, where I actually went to Giants games and saw him play in person. And I remember one game where he was on second base. And, he was Mays took chances. which is part of the excitement he generated. So he's on second base. And the pitcher throws it to second base, and they pick Mays off. He's caught, dead, flat-footed off the base. And then, you see the second baseman or the shortstop, I can't remember, goes tag him. And he executes an Aikido move. He goes like this. He misses. And what he does is, and this is, just sports. He takes off for third base. He makes the other team react. In other words, he could stand there and they could just throw it back and forth, third base, second base, and they're going to get him. He takes off. He takes a chance. But what happens is the guy with the ball throws it and overthrows. And of course, Mays just takes, he's running full tilt. He rounds third base. And he's heading home. And whoever got the ball, an outfielder, throws the ball to the catcher. Mays slides. He's tagged out. And to this day, there's the umpire right there. And there's me saying, no way, he was safe. But I still remember very vividly the boldness, the imagination. Take off. Aikido would say the key is really going out. And because he does that, he initiates the move. But the guy with the ball realizes, oh, Willie's running, so he makes a bad throw. Puts pressure on, creates with the situational energy. He's flying, literally. Watching him run was really cool. And he slides and he's out. And you go, huh, that's still a very vivid memory. And another one, and I can't place the year, but I just remember Mays was at home plate, and he, it was a tense situation. He didn't strike out on this one, but he just unleashed a swing, and he missed, and it was a strike. It didn't strike him out. I can't remember what happened at that, but I remember the actual motive force. It's like a whole of Candlestick Park, watching them just unleash. And he missed. It was a strike. Not a strikeout, but a strike. So it was almost like, he generates a motive force in that everyone, we were like, wow. Okay, like what would have happened if you had connected to that? When that ball were just gone, it's like Superman, swinging, pretending, and hitting the ball into outer space or something like that. And other than that, I watched certain games on TV. So those are both things that I saw in person. I remember, I think it was probably 1965 or 66. They would walk them a lot, obviously, but the bases were loaded. And so they couldn't walk them. So what does he do? He hits the grandstand. Those are things I saw. Also, I saw some things on TV. One was somebody hits a ball. Basically, it's out. It's going to clear the fence. But there's Mays in center field. In right field, there was Bobby Bonds, who was Barry Bonds' father. And he was a fantastic athlete. They both jumped for the ball. And everybody figures it's Bobby that caught the ball. And Willie's cool. He's running. Then when he crosses, he gets the pitcher's mound and takes the ball out and throws it there. So everybody realizes it's Willie that caught it. And there was a photo that captured that moment there's Bobby Bonds, who's in, you know, like maybe 20, 21 years old. I think he was like high jump champion in Northern California. And they're both leaping for the ball. And there's Mays, you know, who's was probably at that time in his, I would say mid-30s, which is old for a baseball player. And he's so far up ahead of Bobby that somebody captured that. But the TV people were totally faked out. They thought that Bobby Bonds had caught the ball. So those are just a couple of things that I remember, you know, just in terms of personal memories. And, you know, in terms of growing up role models, I was never a baseball player. In fact, you know, when I played baseball, I actually liked pitching more than hitting, you know, just fooling around, like sort of like I like the fact you could kind of do spins on the ball, various movements and things like that. That captured my imagination more than hitting. But Mays, I mean, the NFL wasn't all that big then. 49ers were known mainly in those days for always losing big games to the Dallas Cowboys. And the Warriors came over in early, probably about 1962 or 63. But you know, they had Wilt Chamberlain, who was a great talent, obviously. But he was big, and you know, he kind of did his dunks and stuff like that. And so, you know, how much excitement did he generate? And later, the Warriors, for a brief period when they had Rick Barry, they were fun to watch, and then they just collapsed until the recent run with Curry. But Mays kind of brought a professional legitimacy to San Francisco. The Dodgers and the Giants both moved west. Okay. And Mays, I mean, Mays was well known nationwide. And so it's difficult sometimes to, you know, I know this last period of time, just the week before, we lost Jerry West. He's also somebody that I worked with. The week before that, Bill Walton. And I was surprised when I found out Willie Mays had passed. It just kind of affected me. Any observations? I don't know if any of you, you know, have any feelings about Willie Mays, but we can go back a couple of generations and people do. Anything?
Well, I'm too young to remember him playing, right? So for me, he's like an important historical figure. I mean, obviously he wasn't a historical figure before 2 days ago, but his, you know, his achievements came in the time when before I was born and when I was very small. His public achievements, right? So that's really like, you know, I'm like, oh, Willie Mays died. But I was really more broken up about Donald Sutherland since, you know, I've seen a lot of his movies and, right? But reading more about the silver lining about it is there's more articles to read about Willie Mays, and I'm reading more about him and really.
Well, the other thing is if you watch, they show that catch, 1950 World Series where Vic Wertz, good hitter, I think it was in the Polo Grounds, and the Polo Grounds were something like 470 feet at dead center.
Sure.
And you just don't see that now, right?
Right.
Someone, you know, you're going to hit a home run there.
Yeah, well, one of my kids started playing baseball this last year, school year, and so all of a sudden, and I wound up coaching, right? So all of a sudden, baseball has taken on a new centrality in my life that was not present prior to that. So, I'm really enjoying reading about him.
Well, I've watched my first baseball game so much, I don't know how many times. I've peeked in a little bit, but I actually watched the whole game, except last night's Tai Chi, right? 2 outs, in the top of the ninth, and the Giants are run behind. I had to start the class, and I found out later that they lost. But that's luck of the draw. But 470 feet to center field, and Mays played center field, and so one thing you see him kind of running away, not going this way, running away. And literally, he didn't go that way. It was kind of like what do you call it, a basket catch. And then,
Wow.
And then, he turns, whirls, and throws the ball in because he doesn't want anybody to advance. You can advance by tagging up on a fly ball. And the commentary was that he knew he was going to catch it. He just knew. And two, he had to get the ball back to the infield. So he sprinting full speed away from home plate. He kind of catches the ball like this. And then he, without stopping, he turns, whirls, and throws the ball to the infield. And there's so much force in that he falls down. It's just watching him do things like fall down after a throw. I guess the quintessential Willie Mays thing was when he would run down and make an impossible catch. His cap would come off when he was running. And it found out later that what he did, he wore an extra big hat so that it would increase the showmanship. He found out everybody, in the crowd. See, these days, you don't see a lot of this stuff because it's all highlight reels. And most of the people that really experienced it were people sitting in the stands. I'm talking about just a couple of things that I personally saw him do.
Sure.
Yeah. But, in terms of, talk about Willie Mays. Okay. So he would be running after a fly ball, make an impossible catch, and before he caught the ball, his cap would fly off. And everybody, after a while, waited for the cap to fall off. It was kind of trademark, really.
Like his signature move.
Yeah. We're talking about really 50 years, maybe we'll be talking about Stephen Curry. But the moment for me, it was, I think it was maybe 2 Santa Cruz retreats ago. Maybe it was last year. I can't remember. It might have been last year, but we have an instructors meeting. And Linda kind of, we're just instructors meeting. There's not much to talk about other than just kind of those ambiance. And so she kind of brings up this thing where, I after a class, I kind of take balls from Manassas and say, and she said it, I can't remember, but she said it was like 46 minutes. And how does that relate to Willie Mays? Well, background was, I go to Hobu Dojo because I go to Tokyo, stay for about a week at Mary Haney Sensei's then apartment. And, it just sneaks me into Hobu Dojo. I look Japanese, and, I'm genetically Japanese. And so I'm working with this one guy. And so, we're kind of doing Kokyu. Oh, he's kind of freezing me out. I've not experienced that way, but we didn't do that here. And so he kind of looks at me and goes, like that. And so what happens is a couple of months later, it's really funny because, it was sort of like, he comes to Shingu, because he was training in Tokyo. He's not, by the way, he was not Japanese, he was American. And he goes like this to me, and I go, well, how many falls down? I said, well, you're just falling. He said, no, because, you start to pick the energy up at that point. And so after class, he asked me, what do people do here that are serious students. This guy was kind of like that. So, oh, I said, you're not just sensei. People have, you're not just sensei, throw him around. He goes, okay. This guy, Mr. Serious student, right? Poops out after about 30 seconds. So what happens is I just go in there and I am not going to stop until I drop. And what I kind of noticed is that, you know, Yanasa Sensei didn't hold back. But what he would do, he would throw me forward for a while. And I, you know, just not sort of, you know, I mean, you start to feel it after a while. For roll, back roll, for back roll. And then what happened, he would switch to Swati Waza. He'd kind of down there, you know, and I'd recharge a little bit on the ground. Right? And he'd start throwing me around again. And then after a while, what I realized was that I was getting energy. He's putting energy into me. Oh, okay. So I started to kind of ride the energy, you know? And then, you know, he would switch to Swati Waza and everything. But he kept on varying the way he was throwing me. And it was like I was picking up energy from what was going on. Most people, you know, they didn't really like to do that. And what happens, you know, the Willie Mays part of it was that, you know, I mean, I just keep on. He would throw me, I just get back up and throw me again. And so after a bit, my belt falls off. I keep on going. And I sort of thought about Willie, you know, it's like, okay, his cap falling off, right?
Sure.
Willie kept after that ball. He didn't say, oh, I got to get my cap. It's like, boom, and the catch. And then what happens is just the belt falls off. You know, my top is loose. Well, guess what? My top falls off too. And, you know, through that, belt falls off. And sometime later, the top falls off. And so I'm just running after being Ruke, you know, just like, you know, I just keep on, Manasa Sensei keeps throwing me and I keep getting up. Manasa Sensei keeps throwing me and I keep getting up. And finally, you know, he does one of these, you know, and hits me in the side of the head and I fall down, and I was wearing contact lenses in those days. And so what happens is I go, I think he knocked the lens out. So that was what ended it. I can't remember Linda. It says she was there, so she says it was like 46 minutes. And I found out the contact had just been dislodged there. But there was an area where, you know, like my image, you know, somewhat, you know, was like, you know, well, Willie Mays chasing a fly ball. He's not going to give up. He's not going to give up. Not going to give in to the fly ball. And the other thing is the cap falling off. So when my belt comes off, top falls off. I just continue going. And, you know, there's an area where, you know, that's kind of one point of focus. That's very difficult today. And so it's done, right? And the guy, you know, throws me out at home dojo. Also, what are the serious students doing? He comes up to me and says, that was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I said, well, thank you. I mean, yeah, I never did it to that extent. Again, but you're not so sensitive to throw people around. Most people would just stop that day for a variety of reasons. I wasn't going to stop until I tried. And I wasn't going to stop until I thought that maybe one of my contacts was knocked out. But anyway, that's my Willie Mays personal story. Anything?
No, that's cool.
Yeah, my Willie Mays moment, you know. And you know, I mean, I think that he one time signed a contract for $105,000, and that was the highest amount. I remember when you know baseball players were getting 35,000 a year, and everybody was insisting they were overpaid. Oh, so that. And all of a sudden it went to 100,000. Then, of course, now, you know, Shohei Ohtani signs a contract for, you know, I mean, towards $1 billion mark. So, you know, it's much different world. Anyway, let's look at the time. Okay. Yeah. One of the things I kind of noticed is, you know, you see videos, and I'm getting left-handed because, which I never did. But one of the things I'm noticing, right, Willie swallow, he would kind of boom, not that way, into the ball, but he'd go through the ball, boom, the way that the back would go. He put that extra bit of spine, Barry Bonds. He would swing, I can't do it that way. He would swing, get that extension, and his lead foot would wind up on the side of the field, back vertical bombs, boom, the Covey Cove. But Mays was a little different. Mays would boom, with that he would obviously not hit one, but he'd make contact, but boom. And I'm doing it left-handed because these days, when I practice, you know, because of Sada how to bowl, mimic his left-handed stance. So now, boom. So, so you know, my attempt to see an energy spiral. Boom. And then, of course, variations, right? And these are adjustments here. And there was a story that came out about Mays in the last couple of days, a lot of them. And when they moved to the Kansas Park, there was a real strong wind that came in left field. And of course, being a right-handed hitter, and most hitters are pulled, which means you go the left field. But with Mays, obviously, you know, there's a strong wind. And so what he said, when the wind is too strong, I get it out the other way. And so, you know, there's an area right here. I'm not, pulling, you want to get full extension out of the ball. It's there. You wait a little bit, you get that angle. So that's my analysis of that. But I thought it was kind of cool. So, man, when coming in, I hit it out the other field right here. The back line here comes on with these movements or adjustment movements. Change of direction. So a lot of what I can do wrong. These were what I call the changes of what we did the spirit. Easy, open, step. See? And if you're trying to hit a baseball, you can't be tight. Mr. O used to raise that day. Well, in spring, that's my attempt to. I research people like that. And sort of waiting for the pitch. Motion. So it's my. I'm a lot better for this than I'm. No, it's different than just sort of going through which is also good. Any anything you notice about that? No, nothing.
I noticed a lot of smoothness and energy. Like there was a smooth transition from one. There was never any like everything stops and now we change directions. It was always like one continuous warping spiral. So I picked up my Joe and I tried to do some of that as well.
There are hand changes. 1, 2, 3. Fire water. Changes. So all of a sudden that's now there are certain things there, for example. I mean, I thought Willie's thing was, if the wind's blowing in from left field, I'll hit it out to right field. That's pretty cool. I mean, Bonds, for example, used to hit a couple of, I mean, he hit most of his stuff to right field, left field. But the end of his career, he had some issues. He was hitting out to left center. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as good as when he was a bit younger, but he was still getting 27, 28. Sometimes you can try to pick up a quality. Smooth, 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 smooth. The other one is explosive. I mean, Mays wasn't just smooth as when I moved it. Boom, explosion. Boom. So, basically all those changes, or as far as I can tell, the 30%. But, mix it up. There's something that is kind of a little bit more. difficult to describe. It's not just a great catch. It's Willie Mays making that great catch. It's not just a winning basket. It's Stephen Curry hitting that 40-foot shot. So the greats, if you'll notice, William Howard Mays became or Stephen Curry Jr. became Stephen. Chesney Henry Baker became Chet Baker. Louis Armstrong was the third. So there's an area where you might call the kototrama personifies something, the meaning of the thing kind of shifts. What's difficult to teach is that we plan and rehearse and execute a path. And another great, I only saw this guy play in person once, was Earl Monroe. And he was kind of known because he kind of brought a kind of street artistry to the, and, because sometimes you go through various things, and there are certain things that are kind of like memories, but it's almost like they're etched into your DNA. So, they all, it's sort of get into your DNA. And one of them was Monroe. It's a very different style than now. Now it's all also step back. And Monroe would be here, and he would execute a spin. We go this way, this spin. And so I was trying that the other day, and you said that's what to do that spin. Do it. But when Monroe spun, it was less like, okay, I'm going to spin. It's more like if you magnetize the difference. It was always spinning, as opposed to, okay, he's going to spin. I'm going to get the training of the basket. It's like, no. The one thing that struck me was when I first watched him, he'd be dribbling, and then he just let the ball dribble itself, and he'd dribble it again. And then he let the ball dribble itself, and he'd dribble it again. And so somehow, that area where the ball was just bouncing, so that was kind of the way he executed his spin. Again, kind of something that was very influential to me was Monroe. It was something like 44 points a week for Winston-Salem. And he was a high draft pick, number 2 or number 3 in the NBA draft. So one of my high school friends says, we got to go see this guy. So we got tickets. We went to Oakland, where he was playing the Warriors. And my memory serves me right. He scored 18 points. He was, his vibe was different. He said, let the ball dribble itself. Loose, free. And but one thing is that this is something that is sort of like etched into my consciousness, so to speak. And what that means is that there's one play. So the Warriors had at the time Nate Thurman, right? And then they had this guy Clyde Lee who was playing strong forward position, but he could also extend it. They both really tall. 6'10" to 7 foot, that. And there was Monroe, who was about 6'3", 6'4". You wouldn't call his style athletic at all. These days, when people jump high, Monroe didn't, but he was, unique. And so what happened is that he's got the ball, and he kind of mesmerizes and spins, and then there's Thurman and Clyde Lee waiting in front of the hoop. So they're saying, well, he made counters to and go right to the right of the hoop to block the shot. And I have to actually go through it, reconstruct it. But what I think he did is he didn't counters because that would have taken him right into the two shot blockers. So what he did, of course, he just kind of goosey spine beat his defender. And I think what he did, right, was he probably went something like this, and he respun, which got him to the other side of the hoop, right side, two guys, 2 7-footers, left side. And then, when he's right here, everybody's expecting him to jump and put the ball up, and the 2 shot blockers are expecting the same thing. So what he did, when he spins, and I had to replay this. He puts up a helium balloon. And the 2 shot blockers are ready to time their block when he jumps. And he doesn't jump. He throws up a slow ball. It's like a helium balloon rising. And so remember, the 2 7-footers, they were looking at the balloon until it was too late. And then it just kind of went right through the roof. It was a bit like, somebody trying to hit O-sensei. It's not like you move fast, you just you hit into the air. And so it was kind of I still remember that moment. It wasn't really amazed, but Monroe kind of had a quality that people that watched him play. If you watch the highlights of him now, it's so different from the game. But if Earl were here these days, he would still play. And that was kind of my moment where all of a sudden these 2 guys and the ball just floats up like a helium balloon. And they're expecting something really swatted away. And they go, well, they said, look, he just caught their key. They got caught up like kids watching the helium balloon. And then they realized they got to block it. But by then, the ball was out of their reach and went right through the roof. And I also remember this. The Oakland Coliseum Arena. Never seen anything like that. Dead silence. Whoa, what did we just see? In fact, one of his nicknames was Magic before Magic Johnson. They called him Magic. The other one, they called him Black Jesus. And the more colloquial, more accepted nickname for him was Earl Monroe. And he wasn't the guy who scored the most. Had the flashiest stuff. It's been like really, in a certain way, it's just lost. Wow. In fact, I remember there was a clip of Mays about 8 years after he retired, which means it was in his late 40s to maybe even his 50s, because he played pretty late. Okay. Played into his 40s. But it was an old-timers game. And he showed him, running after a ball, diving for it, and catching it. It was an old timers clip. And, he imagined himself in an old timers game doing that. But he dove off the ball. I can't remember if his cap flew off or not. It was this beautiful moment. But I do remember when I used to watch the NBA All-Star game, or was what they called the old timers. And I just remember watching Earl, he's kind of dribbling here, and then he does his spin and hits a shot. And I think it was held at Madison Square Garden. And, the garden goes nuts. You get to see Earl one more time do his patented spin and shot. And that was also a pretty special moment. So, anyway, so we have these changes. See, that, for example, that's fast. This is the that's fast. That's good. That's fast. That's good. So I flatter myself like my little spins. Base, swings. Really, they're going to roll model archetypes. And for example, here and here. 1, 2, but they're connected. Izanagi, Izanagi. Oh. Izanagi, Izanagi. Keep going that way, there's also that way. Also that. And for example, we do that sheet. Square of that. That's one continuous. Where you mean more bigger. It's continuous. Most difficult Taisabaki in Aikido personally is Kodanshu. Because really what you're doing, Taisabaki is body change. Going that way and reversing going that way. Okay. Most people, there's a set here to go down. But, so, set to go that way. Set to go that way. No set. Nage. There's a set to throw. No set. No set. No set. EQ, for example, is usually a set to deal with the arm and step to it. No set. No set. So a lot of the changes in Aikido, you kind of see and for example, choose the hand set. But Nikyo, step back. You kind of Sankyo, for example, people position this way. But for example, in the set, it goes this way. So instead of this way, we go that way. And for most Aikido, you don't need to know it to that level. Or just fascination I have. I'm sure Willie had this view of what he did with baseball. Earl has. I'm sure Steph does. And so there's things that you naturally come to you. It's almost like you become a gravitational force or magnetism for certain things. So for me, naturally, it's that it changes. Set. So the space is free. There's a lot of energy here, but it's fun. If you leave that, it's pretty chaotic out here. Now, anyway, anything any of you notice at all on that?
Well, I was trying some of it, and you know, I just if I don't focus on the staff or the spear and focus on where my body is and what it's doing, then I get better results because it's more, you know, it's just like if you're batting, you don't focus on the bat so much as where you place yourself, right? The bat connects to the ball, but it's not, you know, you can't like swing a sword and focus on the sword, and you can't use a Joe and focus on the Joe. It has to be the movement and the fluidity of the body. So I was looking at you doing that, and I was trying to do that myself. That's what I was trying to take away from it, right? Because like if you're shooting a basketball and it's going up like a helium balloon, it's going up because that's how you launched it, right? And that's so that's my focus of the moment is on just where the movement is.
Well, the way that I would put it, quoting Stephen Curry, says all great shooters have one thing in common: it's absolute control over their mechanics. Now, those mechanics may differ. Larry Bird's mechanics may differ from Stephen Curry's mechanics, and he might differ from Reggie Miller's mechanics, but they have each their own mechanics. Now, given that, there's that extra. We call it flow. Well, since in the term I prefer is common, fire water. Is the one who is the one. Why? Because the other terms are too popular. Flow can be very mental. Now, the mechanics are yes, they change. Fire water change. Fire water change. So there's a certain mastery of the mechanics. But at some point, what happens is there's a doorway that opens up. There's a veil that you cross. And level 1, level 2, level 3, 4. Level 1, let's use the no sensation. There's problem. I'm the Bobby. Bobby never becomes Bobby. There's a veil the portal from Bobby to Robin. And there's another veil or portal from Robin. And then there's another veil or portal. One never becomes two. Two never becomes three. Three never becomes four. Basic. Mechanics. Now, you want to study this and my gut's all over the place. Mechanics. Still a simple motion. Now, he is a rough one. Baseball, basketball, you're playing a game. You're in a playoff game. You're in the higher level of the playoffs. Or even higher. See. Then you're playing for the championship. Now, you can't play at that championship level without your mechanics, your basics. Okay? So I'm not, that's what coaches are for. Barry Bonds, for example, he wouldn't listen to any coaches. The only person he'd ask about, what am I doing? Was his father, Bobby. And Bobby dies. Well, who's his coach then? It's Willie Mays. Willie, something's a little off in the this way. And Mays, he wouldn't go to a basketball coaching expert. He'd go to his father, his godfather. But anyway, anything you notice on that one, that end cut? Anything?
Yeah, I was practicing it, and you know, it's just about the flow. And so here's the interesting thing. You would think that a sword cut movement, sort of at the basic level, you rise, it gets to the apex, and it stops, and it goes down, and it cuts, and the cut stops, and then you rise again for the next cut, but it doesn't really feel that way. It feels like one continuous thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though there is a moment of direction return, like in Irimi Nage, but that direction return doesn't feel like stop, start. It feels like, whew, right? And even though we're twisting and moving, the ki kind of goes out, and then it, you know, instead of the ki just going down, you have that little thing at the end that takes the energy, and it's kind of like a wave hitting the shore, like an ocean wave, and then coming back, and there's that pulling back of the water, which is also a kind of an energy. And I'm feeling like when the sword comes down and moves forward, it's like that wave. And then when I raise it again, it starts with that pulling back motion. Does that imagery make sense?
Oh, everybody's mechanic. Again, going back to Curry, all great shooters have one thing in common. That is complete control of their hands. He didn't say all great shooters have the same hands. A lot of things work. It's very individual. The only thing I would say, easy and open and so. Now, we're talking about raise, apex, pause, and cut. So that's it on the map. Now, easy, open, so. Easy, open, so. Now, even here, the tip. The open is a 2 beat. You don't go easy, open, seven. Easy, open, seven. You're making that, keep putting a hinge as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now you're not doing much, but you are working superior mechanics. Now, Dojima Sensei would come around. There was basic cut with it. Just stand. He would tell you much about stuff. Then at some point, I was a championship level. And when he did that, nobody could hang with him. He used to come by and he's standing right in front of me doing that, and I'd be trying to match him, and just nod his head and say, nada, not yet, not yet. And he told me something like, hey, but it's worth practicing. He says, if you can do it in 5 years, that's good. And I looked at him and said, it'll probably take me 50. And what he said was, if it's 50 years, that's fast too. In other words, there's a gateway you pass through, right? And there's an area where that's mechanics. For most people, a pause is a pause. It's in yin yang. And getting that, one thing right here is that there's all of a sudden there's a lot of energy. There's an abandon there. That's Willie Mays running under that fly ball and his cap flying off, whirling and throwing to the infield. Or conversely, that's Earl Monroe taking it right to the hoop of his 2 shot blockers and throwing up a helium balloon and watching him kind of be mesmerized. No, Sensei worked kind of that's magical stuff. Sensei was working some magic, but he also had mechanics. Now the great gap, window, doorway, veil, mechanics into that other zone. That's the game. Anyway, I think enough for today. We will be in Mountain View on Sunday. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.